Hello, friends. Welcome back to Radiant Resilience. This is going to be a Radiant Reflections episode. So, this week you get little old me all by myself. I've been wanting to come on here and talk about my trip to Kyrgyzstan, excuse me, for one. And for two, I had some pretty big revelations, self-revelations on this trip that I really wanted to share, and I've just had a hard time sharing it. So I feel like now is finally the time. So I am going to get very open and vulnerable with you. Not that I don't, but some of the things that I realized on this trip were very deep for me. So huge, just life-changing, I think, at this point in time. So I felt like I needed to come on here and share it. I love coming on here and talking about my trips. It's always fun, and I think everybody enjoys hearing about all the different things that we've been up to and the different countries we go to, since we can't possibly go to countries that are normal that normal people go to. So I'm going to start off. So we just went to Kyrgyzstan in September. Why did we choose Kyrgyzstan? That is like the main question that I keep getting. And to be honest with you, I don't know that I chose Kyrgyzstan in the end. Colin has been talking about wanting to go to the stands, we call them, for quite a few years now, mostly because there's loads of mountains and hiking and things like that, and it's supposed to be really beautiful. The problem is we always go on a trip in September. We always stick around all of summer and in Colorado because it's so lovely, and then we go in September or fall or when things start to get cooler or whatever. Central Asia, which is where Kyrgyzstan is located, just west of China. So its eastern border touches western China border, and to the north is Kazakhstan, and there are so many countries right around there that, like I said, we call stands. You have Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Pakistan, and Afghanistan, I think is most of them. I hope I'm not forgetting any. Very freaking far away, for one, and also far north and high altitude. September was pushing it. We knew we were pushing the time of year to get there, and we wanted to do a bunch of hiking before it snowed in the high mountains. So we got there, and we start talking to other travelers that were there, and I'm like, oh my gosh. The only thing to do in this country is hike and camp. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't mind hiking. It's not the only thing I want to do, though. I like to change it up. I love beaches, ocean, lakes, that kind of stuff, cities. And most of our trips have included a combination of those things. So that was shocking. And that was when I first realized that this was not a Tawny trip. If anybody who knows Colin and I, they know exactly what that means. Colin, again, has been wanting to go to the stands for a very long time. Last year, we went to Pakistan. I have a podcast episode about it. I don't remember exactly what number it is, but go back and listen to that one if you want to know more about Pakistan, which was potentially one of my favorite countries. Absolutely loved Pakistan. So because of that, when we were in Pakistan, we met a whole bunch of other travelers that had been traveling all of the stands, once again. And every single one of them, when we asked them what was their favorite, they said Kyrgyzstan. So that is what drew us to Kyrgyzstan to begin with. Everything over there except for Pakistan and Afghanistan used to be part of the Soviet Union. So north of Kyrgyzstan is Kazakhstan, and then north of Kazakhstan is Russia. All independent countries now, for the time being. And yeah, so we get there, I realize there's nothing but hiking and camping. And honestly, I was really struggling emotionally at the beginning of this trip heavily. I had a lot of personal things happen right before that trip that I was feeling guilty for leaving. I was just feeling emotionally overwhelmed. I was not excited about the trip. I was excited to get away, but it just wasn't the same. We get there and I'm struggling, and then I realized that the only thing to do is hiking and camping. So I was like, what the hell kind of trip did I sign up for? However, I will be fully transparent and tell you that I did zero research before we went on this trip. Colin does all the research for most of our trips, and I did not look into much. So that is on me. I will take responsibility for that. Had I done my own research, I may have figured that out sooner and been a little bit more mentally prepared. So we end up going to the southwestern part of the country to hike in this area that has some really big mountains over, I think the biggest one there was over 24,000 feet. We didn't hike to the top of those, but we hiked around that area. It was beautiful. We stayed in a yurt up there, which, by the way, the yurts are overrated, in my opinion. I have now stayed in yurts in Mongolia and in Kyrgyzstan, and I just don't really care about it. Here's the thing. They're fantastic when they're warm. Let me just put that out there. And lots of them have stoves in them. This one we stayed at first had a stove. They lit the fire. It was lovely until about 2 a.m. when the stove went out. Fire went out, and we froze our freaking asses off. Colin and I ended up in a single bed together, snuggling to try to get warm, and felt every fucking spring in that mattress. I don't know how the Kyrgyz people do it. They sleep on springs, and I don't get it because I'm too old to sleep on springs, and my hips and my knees and everything was hurting. So anyways, we squoze into this silly little bed and then ended up getting up super early to do our hike, which was amazing. About an 8-9 hour hike that day, I think. And then we decided to go down to the little village because we did not want to sleep in the yurt again. Went down to the little village at the bottom and then worked our way. Oh, then we went up to this lovely little town called Arslanbab. It is the walnut capital of the world. And I am highly allergic to walnuts. Let's go to the country that has the most walnuts in the entire world. But it was fine. I never had an allergic reaction. I was very cautious, but had my EpiPen, had my Benadryl, all the things. We hiked around the walnut farms, and then we tried to go to this waterfall. We ended up hiking 17 miles that day. And I'm going to actually say more like walking, because it wasn't hard. We were going through the terrain of the walnut farms, and that was beautiful and hilly, but more just like a 17-mile hike for the day is what I clocked on my Fitbit. And I was like, what did we just do? No wonder I'm so freaking tired. It was beautiful, though. The walnut trees are just gorgeous. There were these huge 14,000-foot peaks around us. It was very lush in that area, where the other area we had just come from was a lot more barren and not many trees and stuff. It was beautiful. So then we decided to work our way across the country to the major lake it's called Issyk-Kul, and it is on the eastern half of the country, northeastern. And that was a really lovely spot. That lake is beautiful. There are huge mountains on the other side of it that run the border between Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan. And just the scenery around there was gorgeous. We also stayed at a little resort that had a hot spring, so that was really nice. We went swimming in the hot spring, hopped in the lake, and then we hopped back in the hot spring, lake, hot spring, lake, hot spring. It was fun. We met a couple there that was a French couple that we really connected with, and ended up having wine on the beach with them and a few dinners with them and riding around with them because they had rented a car.
Hi, friend, and welcome to this episode of Radiant Resilience. We are always looking for new guests on the podcast. I want to highlight you if you have a story of resilience that inspires others. Everyone has a story, and I believe that sharing yours can help others feel less alone. Are you ready to share your journey and inspire others? I want to hear from you. Every story has the power to impact lives and foster a supportive community. If you have a tale of overcoming adversity, personal growth, or a unique perspective on life's challenges, I would love to have you as a guest on the podcast. To become a guest, please email us directly at radiantresiliencepodcast@gmail.com or click the link in the show notes to become a guest. Join us in spreading hope, strength, and inspiration one story at a time. Be brave and share your story so others feel less alone. I hope to see you soon.
So that was nice. And then we went to the far eastern side of the lake and we did a 3-day hiking adventure through the mountains there. And I gotta tell you, as I started this podcast episode, I told you, I do not like hiking very much. I will do it. I don't mind it. I like going beautiful places, but it's not really my thing. And this was one of my favorite hikes, I think, that I've ever done. It was hard as fuck, but it was stunning. First, you hike up to the yurt camp at the base of the pass. We slept there. That was a better yurt sleeping experience. It was a little bit more insulated, so we weren't as cold. We were also sleeping on the ground with good sleeping bags and stuff like that. It was much better than the first yurt experience. So we hike up to there, sleep there. We got up very early the next morning. We're just those people. We love to get up early and get going and hike and things like that. So I also love to sleep in. Don't get me wrong on that. We hike up to the pass, which I think the pass was at like 13 or 14,000 feet. So hard and steep up this pass. So hard. The Kyrgyz people don't know how to do switchbacks. It was straight up this fucking mountain. So we go straight up the mountain. There's like ice everywhere, a little bit of snow the higher we get. We finally get to the pass. Oh, there was a lake up there that you go to. I don't remember the name of it, but there's a lake up there. It's a glacier lake, and it is beautiful blue, just so clean looking, so beautiful. We get to the pass, and it was windy and cold, but the view that was up there was incredible. Incredible. Huge mountains all around, covered in snow. It was so beautiful. But we were having a hard time finding the route down the other side because it was covered in snow. So Colin was like, I don't know if we're going to be able to get down this. And I was like, we're going to have to. Or we go back the other way we came, and I don't really want to do that. So he ends up walking the ridge down a little bit further and finds a path that people had taken the day before with a bunch of tracks. And we start going down that. Now it is like knee-deep snow. So we are post-holing and slipping. We did not have crampons or spikes or anything like that, which hindsight probably should have had them, but we were hoping to beat the snow, remember. Did not. So we end up sliding down this entire section on our butts through the snow. Glissading down this mountain. Not the whole mountain, but just down this top part of the mountain to the yurt camp on the other side. On the other side. And it was pretty fun. Then we walked down the rest of the way, and the trail sucked. It was so muddy and slippery, and yeah, it was a long day. I think that was like a 9-hour day as well. But then we got down to this little village, and we stayed in the village, and then we get back to the main town, hang out there for a few days, and then we decided kind of last minute to go into Kazakhstan. So that was not originally part of our plan, but the way back from the lake to Bishkek, which is the capital city of Kyrgyzstan, where we flew out of, we would have skirted the Kazakh border, and there is one of their biggest, nicest cities right across the border from Kyrgyzstan, and it was pretty easy to get to and from there, from where we were. So we decided to do that. We went to Almaty, Kazakhstan, and I gotta tell you, Almaty was a lovely city. I absolutely loved it. Amazing restaurants, beautiful cafes, amazing parks, lots of different types of food. It was amazing. So I have to share this with you. Many years ago, I went to the country of Georgia because of the food is amazing. Okay, I'm going to back up a little bit further. Before that, I went to Russia, and when we would ask people in St. Petersburg and Moscow, like our hotel or whatever, like, where should we go for dinner? Where should we go for lunch? What's your favorite restaurant in town? Every single one of them sent us to a Georgian restaurant. We were like, oh, that's weird. What's Georgian food like? That was my first experience with Georgian food. Every time I go over to that part of the world now, I find Georgian food because I cannot find it in Colorado. Maybe we tried to look it up. You might be able to find a Georgian restaurant in New York, but not in Colorado. So we found many Georgian restaurants in Kazakhstan because Georgia also used to be part of the Soviet Union. Another place I found a lot of Georgian restaurants was in Turkey. They share a border. Turkey shares a border with Georgia. Yeah, that is how we ended up finding it there. So I think every single night in Almaty, we had Georgian food, which is just so delicious, my friends. If you ever get the opportunity to be in that part of the world, please find Georgian food. It's amazing. They have these dumpling things. They have these cheese pizza without sauce things. They've got this garlic cream chicken dish that's amazing. They do kebabs. And Georgian wine is amazing also. So that is what we spent a lot of our time in Almaty doing, eating Georgian food, having tea in cafes, and just popping around the city, and it was lovely. So this is going to segue me into the vulnerable part of this conversation, because I'll close it off with saying that Almaty was the end of the trip. It was the end of the trip. We went from there to Bishkek for a few days and then flew home. And the flights were brutal. We did Bishkek to Istanbul to Denver. It's like a 13-hour flight from Istanbul to Denver, and it was long and hard and difficult and woof. And then I will share, before I get into the emotional side of this conversation, I will share that, so at the end of this trip, Colin and I, so Kazakhstan ended up being my 50th country. I have officially been to 50 countries, which is quite the accomplishment. I feel very proud of it. And we decided to rank all 50 countries. I keep making the joke that I think that Colin and I ran out of things to talk about after 3 weeks of being together 24/7. So we decided to rank all 50 countries. Now, to give you an idea of this trip, it ranked for both of us in the 40s. And 50 doesn't mean that it was a bad trip. It was just, there were more interesting, more exciting things in other countries that we liked. I just wanted to share that to give you an idea. The people were lovely, more like Mongolian people than Russian people, like as far as looks go and stuff, and the food was lovely. Everybody was very nice. Lots of Google Translate because they all speak Russian and I speak no Russian. I was actually surprised how heavily they all leaned on Google Translate. So yeah, and then everybody keeps asking me about my list. I really want to create some type of ranking system for official rankings for this, like a scoring system, but I'm still working on that. So I will get back to you when I do that. But I will share that my number one country was Sri Lanka. So I highly recommend Sri Lanka. My number two country I'm not going to share this whole list. I was just going to share like top 5. But the way that I have this organized on my phone is so messy. So I need to do it better. South Africa was my number 2. The Seychelles were my number 3. I think Georgia was number 4. No, I lied. Georgia was number 6. What was my number 4? Oh, Indonesia. And number 5 was Nepal. Nepal was number 1 for Colin, which makes sense. Sri Lanka for me, beaches. Nepal, number 1 for him, hiking. Which Nepal, again, my number 5. Absolutely freaking amazing. Love Nepal. Love the Himalayas. If you ever get the opportunity to go to the Himalayas, I highly recommend. I want to see where I ranked. Pakistan was number 10 for me, so it did rank in the top 10. So I just wanted to share those. Oh, my number 50, which is another question I keep getting, is India. India was very hard for me. I think India is amazing. I think India has a lot to offer. It's a huge country. It has beaches, it has mountains, it has cities, it has safaris, it has... The religious aspect is super interesting. It has temples, it has forts, it has palaces. It's wild, it's chaotic. The food is amazing. I love Indian food, but I couldn't get past the hassle over there. I think everyone should go and experience India at some point, but I'm very glad I don't have to do it anymore. Okay, now that I've gotten through that, I want to go back to the deeper part of this conversation. So after doing that 3-day hike around the mountains, when you're hiking and you're in nature, it sounds so cliche to say, but it is so healing and beautiful. And like I told you, I was struggling at the beginning of this trip with a lot of emotions. Also, I want to talk about really quick, when I'm home, and I hope that a lot of you can relate to this. When I am home and I am working and I am living my everyday life, it is so easy to distract from all the hard shit. I throw myself into work, and I can't tell you how many times I have gone on these trips and realized that I'd been in survival mode and not actually healing and processing. All the time. I think that, oh, I'm home, I'm processing, I'm dealing with my feelings, I'm doing all the things, I'm doing therapy, I'm doing energy work, I'm healing. Let me tell you what happens when things get quiet and you no longer can avoid the hard shit in your life. It's hard as fuck, I'm just gonna say. Because I am at a point in my life where I feel for myself like I need to make some decisions. And it's like a big turning point for me in my life is what I'm feeling like. So I realized on this trip, again, that I was not processing. I was in survival mode with all of my infertility stuff. And I've been in limbo it's been 2 years, I think 2 years since my last embryo transfer failed. And limbo is one of the hardest places to be. So I am so tired of it. I'm tired of it being all consuming. I'm tired of not knowing what's going on, what's happening next. Fear. I'm tired of the fear. I'm tired of the hurt. And not all of that's going to go away. I understand that. So I sat down after this hike and I did a ton of journaling. And I was listening to music. Colin had gone to the gym. I'm sitting in the hotel room with my tea and I'm journaling. And all these things are coming up because I finally got quiet. And I had, prior to that, let's say 2 weeks of quiet. And it was hard. It was a hard 2 weeks to have to be forced to think about and process and all these things. So I start journaling, and I am going to share a little bit from my journal with you, which is very vulnerable, but I just feel like it's so important to this healing journey that I'm on. It says it was just 3 days of tough hiking. I did lots and lots of thinking. I don't feel any closer to an answer than I did before. My feelings are all over the place. It changes by the minute. But I'm starting to feel a bit more peace when I think about it. I said, I know it's cliche, but there will always be another mountain to climb. It's hard, but there is always an easier down on the other side, and you just have to keep going and keep pushing. I then decided, it clicked in me, that I needed to get to know myself again. I felt like in my 20s, I had I had a lot more confidence in who I was. Not that I liked who I was back then, but not that I didn't like who I was back then. I had a lot more confidence in the person that I was. And my infertility definitely took a lot of that away. My self-worth, it stole a lot from me, truly, which was really hard. I can't even tell you how many things it stole from me. It was the darkest period of my life. And let me tell you that when you think that your purpose in this lifetime is to spend the next 18 years raising a human, or more if you have multiples, raising a human or multiple humans to be good, upstanding citizens in this life, you don't think about anything else. What the other opportunities could be for you. And I realized that I was being faced with that reality of it, the possibility of me not being a mom, me not having children, not raising a human in this world for the next 18 years, then what does the next 18 years look like? And let me tell you, it's fucking scary. I did not think that at 37 years old, I would be facing an identity crisis, which is exactly what was happening. So as I'm journaling, I realized that in order to really begin this healing journey and to be able to move past my infertility, I need to relearn who Tawny is and what Tawny likes, because I am also very much a people pleaser, and I constantly I disregard myself all the time because I want to please everyone else to a detriment, for sure. It's a problem that I have. And all the way to the point that, like, something as simple as Colin and I going out for dinner. If I am choosing where to go to dinner by myself and it's not going to affect anyone else, I can make a decision pretty easy. And you know what? So what if it doesn't end up being great? The only person that's going to affect is me. Add a person to that mix, and I can't make a fucking decision to save my life. Because I'm so afraid of making the wrong decision on dinner, which is so dumb, that's going to affect Colin or whoever is with me's experience. If I choose a bad restaurant, I'm going to ruin their time, and I don't want to be responsible for that. I decided to journal about all things Tawny, okay? What is success to me? Where do I want work to go? My career. Who am I? What do I love to do? Who do I want to be? What do I want to learn? And what is important to me? And then I made lists on all of these things to try to get to know myself again. So a few days later, Colin and I were at dinner in Almaty, and we were drinking wine, and I had been wanting to ask him a question for days after this journaling experience and the realization that I need to get to know myself. And I said to him, I was like, all right, I want to ask you something really cheesy, but I really want you to answer. So my question to him was, if you were describing Tawny to someone who doesn't know me at all in the slightest, how would you describe me as a person? And he starts listing off all these things, and it sparked this conversation. I told him why I asked him, and that I've decided I need to try to get to know myself to figure out what my new purpose and direction is in this lifetime. And it turned into one of the deepest, most amazing conversations I have ever had with my husband. Ever. I am so grateful for this conversation. And at the end of it, I was like, damn it. I wish I was recording this for a podcast episode. It was so good. I wish I could share it with you in person. It was so good. There's a part of me that wants to have him on here so we can have that conversation a little bit over again, but I don't know if he'll do it. So you get me just talking about it. And the conversation went a direction. So it started out talking about who I was and who I want to be and all this stuff. And it morphed into me trying to be my authentic self and being true to myself, which also goes along with the people pleasing, okay? Because I am not true to myself because of the people pleasing. So it's a problem. And being okay with being my authentic self. And I think that's where this needs to go, is what I'm realizing, is I need to love and accept myself, which, full transparency, I've never done up until this point in my life, and be true to myself in order to find this purpose in life and just do things that are authentic and true to me, and the rest will come. So this was interesting. He shared an Oscar Wilde quote with me that I'm going to share with you because it was so good. As soon as I can find it on my phone, I should have been more prepared here. He has this quote saved in his phone, and I just thought it was so interesting because he's not somebody that really holds on to stuff like that. In fact, he deletes a lot of photos and stuff like that quite frequently. So anyways, so here's the quote. A work of art is the unique result of a unique temperament. Its beauty comes from the fact that the author is what he or she is. It has nothing to do with the fact that other people want what they want. Indeed, the moment that an artist takes notice of what other people want and tries to supply the demand, he or she ceases to be an artist and becomes a dull or an amusing craftsman, an honest or dishonest tradesman. He or she has no further claim to be considered as an artist. And I love that because I have been reading The Artist's Way and I've been trying to re-find my creativity, my inspiration. I lost a lot of that with work and stuff in this past year for a multitude of reasons. And it just was so enlightening to be like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Be true to myself, do the things that feel right to me, feel true to me, to who I am, and everything else will fall into place. And that's what makes you a true artist in this lifetime. And it doesn't have to be art. It can be anything. Like we talked about him, and his art is basketball. So, it doesn't have to be painting. It doesn't have to be a creative thing. Like it just whatever you're doing in this life, do it for yourself and be authentic to yourself. So in that, I get back and I jump. I'm feeling so much lighter. I felt like I really had an understanding of my piece, where I was going. I was feeling so good, okay? I get back and I open my Artist's Way book to continue doing that. And if any of you are familiar with it, it's a lot, or aren't familiar with it, it's a lot of journaling. And every week you work through some of your past traumas, some of these things that are causing creative blocks for you to unblock yourself. So the chapter that I was on was week 2 and about finding your authentic self. I was like, oh my God, the universe is telling me all these things. I wrote down a bunch of quotes from the book that day that I would like to share with you. Blocked creatives are easily manipulated by guilt. Ooh, that resonated with me so much because I feel guilty all the time for hurting people's feelings, for choosing myself over others, for whatever. To know what you prefer, instead of humbly saying amen to what the world tells you you ought to prefer, is to have kept your soul alive. To know what you prefer instead of humbly saying amen to what the world tells you you ought to prefer is to have kept your soul alive. There's a common theme here. And then, every time you don't follow your inner guidance, you feel a loss of energy, loss of power, a sense of spiritual deadness. Whoa. I then looked up the definition of authentic. Genuine or real, not copied or false, and worthy of acceptance and belief. Not copied or false, and worthy of acceptance and belief. Whoa. This is literally all. I wrote this on October 10th. I got back October 7th. This was probably my first journal entry since coming back and having all these epiphanies. Another quote, your own healing is the greatest message of hope for others, which is why I share this journey with you, truly. Learn to get in touch with the silence within yourself and know that everything in this life has a purpose. Ooh, they're giving me goosebumps. They're all so good. So that is just a little bit of the journey that I have decided to embark on. In that journey so far, I'm going to share a couple of little tidbits with you, and then I'm going to close it out for another day. But through therapy, through my journaling, through all the things I've been doing, I'm trying so hard to hold on to this piece, okay? But of course, we can't, life is happening around me, right? And hard stuff is still happening, and there's a lot going on, and I'm starting to feel a little overwhelmed, and I'm starting to feel behind. When I'm on vacation, it's just la-di-da, we're having a good time, and all I have to worry about is what we're doing tomorrow. So I'm trying to hold on to that quiet inner peace, and it is getting harder and harder by the day, but I'm trying. Therapy, journaling, all the things are helping. I am realizing, and this probably is not a shock to most people that know me, but that I am having a massive codependency issue that is part of my people pleasing that I need to work through. My therapist also talked about it being an attachment problem, because one of the epiphanies I had through all of this journaling and self-discovery is that I love hard all the people in my life, friends, family. I cannot describe to you how much I love and care about every single person in my life, how much I want to be there for every single person in my life, how I want to pour my heart and soul into every single person in my life. And then every once in a while there's rejection, and it's awful, and I hate it. And it wrecks my heart and soul. So I'm working through that. I know I've talked about rejection on here before and experiencing that in the workplace and personally, but I'm going deeper with it now because I truly get so sad and hurt about certain situations that should not make me so sad and hurt. So I actually was listening to, I don't know if anybody listening listens to We Can Do Hard Things with Glennon Doyle and Abby Wambach and Amanda Doyle. But I'm way behind on my episodes for that, but highly recommend that podcast. I was listening to the episodes with Liz Gilbert, who wrote Eat, Pray, Love. And she just wrote a new book that I am dying to read, but I'm so behind on all my books right now. My list just keeps growing. But I really want to read her new book. And so I was listening to the second half. They did 2 episodes with her. The second episode is so good. And she was talking about love addiction and how she has not sex addiction. This is not a physical thing at all. It's purely emotional love addiction. And I think I struggle with that. And I'm definitely going to talk about that with my therapist this next week. But there were a couple of quotes that she made that I want to share that just are like the perfect, spot on, resonated with me, are me, that I just wanted to remember. So she said, Martyring, mothering, managing always leads to rage. Whoa. Yeah. I can't tell you. I am the oldest sibling. I mother in different ways. I mother my friends. I mother my family. I want to fix everything for everyone. I don't want anyone to struggle. I want everyone to live their best, amazing, happy lives. I hate when horrible things happen to my friends and family. I want to fix it for all of them. But this is so true. Martyring, mothering, and managing always leads to rage. And rage may be a little extreme for me. I would say anger for sure, because what we're trying to do as codependents is fix everything for everybody, right? And because you need me, so I need to do that for you. It was just so eye-opening. And then the other one was, I have complete faith in your ability to solve your own life. So that is a mantra that she suggested that she has to use also frequently for not jumping in and trying to save everybody. So she says about everyone else, I have complete faith in your ability to solve your own life. So I made notes of those this morning, actually, on my run. And yeah, so this is going to be a constant journey, and I'm happy to come on here and share how it's going. We're all a work in progress. Another quote I think I'm going to close out with here is, sometimes we have to travel to the edge of the world to remember who we were all along. So good. I'm going to encourage you to find your own version of travel to help you heal through this stuff, to help close out the rest of the world, to, as hard as it is, sit with whatever you're dealing with and going through and try to process it. Try to find your own version of whatever that is, that place or practice that reconnects you to your truth. Be true to yourselves. Be authentic. I'm going to work on that too. So, I hope you enjoyed this very long, very in-depth episode about me and my life right now. Thank you for letting me be vulnerable. Thank you for continuing to listen. Thank you to all the guests that have been on here. I know I keep saying it, but it truly means a lot to me. I love sharing this podcast with the world. Yeah. So that's me for now. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. If you enjoyed our conversation and found value in the stories shared, please consider following us on your preferred podcast platform. Your ratings and reviews make a huge difference. They help us reach more listeners and continue bringing you engaging, insightful content. We appreciate your support and would love to hear your thoughts and feedback. Until next time, keep listening, growing, and sharing.